How did I shoot myself with a nail gun? Before we get into that topic, let's just talk a little bit about construction, safety, the mentality around it, um, and just the approach in general. What I've seen with my experience in all facets and genres of construction is people tend to pay the most attention to it after something has happened. It's kind of just a fact. Unfortunately, on larger projects, there is a better safety. There's a better measure of safety. There is more dedication to it. Part of it is OSHA and their requirements and their inspections, their checklists, and larger construction firms abiding by those, and then by default, usually having a little bit more attention and dedication to safety. On the smaller end of the spectrum, it is a little more variable. You have less oversight. Maybe you have less knowledge of what is and isn't safe. And it allows for usually smaller operations to have, I wouldn't say more accidents, or even larger scale accidents. But in comparison, I would say they have a less, maybe a little less respect for safety, or a little less, maybe not less respect, but less dedication or less attention is paid to safety. And it unfortunately sometimes comes to a dollars and cents kind of argument, right? Do I have the dollars to dedicate to purchasing additional safety equipment, or do I have the time allotted in this budget to do things in a safe, workmanlike manner, or do I have to sort of skip some of those safety measures to get to the finished product faster, which then I can maintain my margin, or at least make some money, right? So it can be a difficult thing. So back to the key topic here, how I shot myself with a nail gun. I was installing siding on a project in Bozeman, Montana, and I was working for a guy that just was younger. I was younger. Past time in my life, I was kind of jumping around. I was a carpenter for a while, working on some custom homes. There's a lot of stuff going on in Bozeman, and I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna go out there, take my trailer, pick up some work. It'll be fun, and we'll just see how it goes. Got out there, got on with a pretty good crew. Yeah, good team for the most part, from what I could tell. I was only out there for maybe a week, maybe a little less than that, and we're installing some siding. I was on a porch, and I was facing the wall, and I was shooting with my left hand. I am right hand dominant, and I was shooting with my left hand. I was kind of crouched down, and I went to stand up, and on that gun, I had the the rapid fire flipped on, so that I was holding the trigger and I was just tapping the front of that gun, and it was shooting a nail. Well, in my left hand, I kept my finger on that trigger. I just kept my grip, and that's just a common. You just do that when you're going around. Well, as I went to stand up, I pressed that button into my knee, that front release, and boom, it ejected a nail through the top of my knee and into the kind of the top of my, I think it'd be my fibula there, or the sort of the crown of my knee joint. I'll show a picture up here, and it'll be kind of the feature photo. But yeah, that was eye-opening. Made me realize that it's okay to slow down, and it's important to understand what you're doing and how you're moving across the project site and across a task or a certain installation, and what to pay attention to. Sometimes you just get going a little too fast, non-dominant or dominant hand, and things happen. So in my time in the trades, I have come to realize that nearly every single tradesperson has a story involving some sort of accident. that could be as simple as, falling off a ladder. It could be as extreme. I know some guys who have for the framers who have framed houses, and they frame a floor and then they cut out the section for the stair core or the staircase, and guys forget about it. They didn't have their safety rail up yet, whatever it may be. They're laying down sheets. Guys stepping backwards, falls sometimes 3 stories. I know guys who have done that and not lived to tell the tale. So that's a pretty common one I've heard a few times, along with the nail gun. Finished nail guns, framing nail guns, siding nail guns, all the nail gun classes and descriptions and types. It seems like that's just what happened. A really common one that I hear occasionally is with the trim gun is you're using trim and you're do that, and then you set it between your legs, maybe you're on a ladder, and you clamp it between your knees and don't realize it and hit the button and it shoots into your thigh, one side or the other. Usually those are they just hurt a lot. You can kind of pull them out. They're in the sort of fatty tissues of your leg muscle. I mean, they hurt, don't get me wrong. But that's one it's eye-opening and you learn your lesson, but it's maybe not as life-threatening. And obviously there's issues with saws and saw blades, and guys holding on material and not realizing it because it's on the bottom, and then running that saw over the top of those fingers and then losing some fingers or losing a finger. Anyways, I won't scare you with any more stories, but it is unfortunately, it's a common thing. And sometimes, like me, you're lucky. You can just pull that stuff out, clean it out a little bit, and you're good to go. Other times, you're a little bit more unfortunate. Step in a hole, something truss falls on you, whatever, and you're seriously injured or worse. And it's something that you got to live with. So I hope this is a little eye-opening. If you've got a remodel project, if you've got a new construction project, if you're in the trades, just take note of that and just be cautious, go slow. If you're an owner, put a little pressure on your teams or your project for safety. If you've got a new construction project and there's a slight discrepancy with X, Y, and Z, and it takes a little longer to put something together, just know that safety is important, and we want everybody to go home, to their families, to their lives, to stay with us, and that it's okay if it takes a little bit longer, if the end goal is everybody goes home safe. So again, I think that's a good key takeaway, especially for owners, whether you're building a new home or remodeling or whatever, and there's a slight delay in a project because of a safety measure, like that's okay. That's okay. Take a breath, understand what's important, and let's just realize that and make it a point to recognize and kind of push for that on each of our projects from both sides of the aisle. On the client side, on the contractor side, let's just stay safe. So that's my story. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions, you want to see more photos of that, I'll probably list some, or maybe I'll attach some to the back of this video and you can kind of browse through them. But it's a pretty wild time. I was fortunate that they could just pull it out, clean it up, and my knee's feeling pretty good. So I'm still running some miles on it every week and just keeping going. We'll see you on the next one.